All right, welcome back, everybody. I've been asked to talk about this higher mount for the red dot, purposes of it, advantages, disadvantages, what's the point of it, as well as functionally what that does to the offset as you're shooting. So before I get into the pluses and minuses, I want to show you some results that I would suggest everybody does, regardless of whether you got the high mount or not. Because even when it's sitting on the rail itself, you're going to have some kind of offset between your red dot and your barrel. So you need to know what that is at different distances. Again, depending on your zero. So let's start out with that. My rifle is got a 36-yard zero. The reason for that is I get the shortest spread from 0 to 300 yards. What that means is between 0 and 300 yards, if I had to take shots onto a piece of paper, then the deviation is, as long as obviously I'm aiming at the same spot, but the deviation is going to be the least versus as if let's say I had a 25-yard zero or 100-yard zero, then that deviation from where I'm aiming is going to get bigger between that 0 to 300. Now you might find that maybe a different zero is going to give you a decent tight group up to 100 yards, but then it's going to start to expand out as you start pushing distance, but it really just depends. And that's why I like the 36-yard zero, because all the way up to 300 yards I'm getting very tight deviation. So before we talk about the pluses and minuses, advantages, disadvantages of that mount, let me show you some results, which I suggest everybody does, and we'll take it from there. All right, so keep in mind this is at an indoor shooting range under low light conditions. I'm not going to excuse my shooting at a good or bad, but what I want you to see is the consistency, and I definitely should have taken my time a little bit more to get maybe tighter groups, because I know I can do better. But regardless, it's more about the offset. So if we look at the top one here, approximately 3 yards away, we've got about a 4.5 inch, and this little one over here, that's one that I definitely pulled. So I was aiming at the top. I was always aiming, at least for the top row, I was aiming at the top of the card, and we were getting a 4.5 inch drop on your actual hit. And that is the maximum. Now, as I started pushing distance, still getting that 4.5 inch drop until it started to pull in. You can see over here, it started to come up from here to about there. So it's starting to drop. And once I get to, just ignore a couple of these that I was kind of messing around on, but on the last one, this one, don't forget, this is not on target. I was aiming up here. This is at about 21 yards. And remember what I said, 36-yard zero, which means that 36, it makes sense that it's getting closer and closer. At 36 yards, it would have hit dead on the top. So this is at 21 yards. The indoor range I was at only goes up to 21 yards, so I couldn't really go all the way to dead on target. But what you want to see is you have this deviation, you need to know it. So close distances, I'm going to be aiming about 4 inches high if I want to hit my target. And as I push that 20 yard closer to where I'm zeroed at, I can just pretty much hit dead on. If it's a little bit closer, then I need to hold it up by about an inch and a half. So it really just depends how much accuracy you're trying to get out of it, but you need to know what that bullet drop is. Once you start pushing distance, it's going to be a whole other situation. It's going to depend what type of, if you have a red dot, LPVO, it doesn't matter. But you need to know what your bullet drop is and what the results are going to be on this at different distances. So answering the question, with this high mount, is it still just ridiculous to use? I don't think so, because 4.5 inches is not that bad that I would have to hold over. I will tell you where you are going to see potential issues. We'll get to that on the pluses and minuses, advantages and disadvantages of the mount itself in a minute. But if I'm aiming center mass, if I just aim a little bit higher, I know I'm going to still hit center mass pretty accurately. So I'm not too concerned with that. Now, if I'm aiming for my box up here, now it's getting a little bit more difficult to judge, because at really close distances, I'm going to actually have to aim above the actual head, because if I'm aiming there, this is not 4 inches. At least I hope not, otherwise I got one hell of a forehead. But anyways, so there is that. So you want to keep that in mind. Now, I did do a bunch of other shooting with some drills. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But yes, so that's where we're at. So going back to this is a Hydra mount type situation, where you've got your red dot here and a laser up front. You could just get a Unity mount as well if you just want to have the red dot. You don't want to worry about the laser. And then you just need to match. If you've got a magnifier like I do in the back here, you need to match that height. Whatever you're increasing here, you need to increase for this one. You got to get the right mount for this one. So keep that in mind. Okay, so pluses and minuses, or advantages, disadvantages, doesn't really matter. First disadvantage I want to talk about is specifically the laser. And this is very, very specific to people using lasers. Some people might not be, but doesn't matter if it's a vis laser or IR laser. If I am at close distance, there is a decent likelihood that I will be using a laser, and CQB, whatever it may be. And the problem is I'm trying to get that headshot box inside here, and I got to aim at close distance to about 4.5 inches above. Well, now it's going above the head, and the laser is going to go above the head. And since the laser is projected, it's going to be very difficult to tell, unless somebody's literally up against the wall. It's going to be very difficult to tell what that offset really is with the laser. So that's not ideal, using a laser at close distances with this kind of offset. Now, there's another option. You could drop the laser and not use this mount, run a Unity mount, and drop the laser back onto the rail, and then you're gonna have that's going to disappear. You're going to have to check again. You're going to have to check the offset on that and see where that's hitting. That's going to be the next one. We're going to test the laser and see where it's hitting with that. But something to consider with lasers. So as far as the red dot, that's pretty easy, because you're going to just have your dot about, just a little bit above the head, and you should be hitting it very well at close distances. One thing that I do like about this is when I'm here, I don't have to hunch kind of into the rifle and sit really, really far down to get to the red dot. I can just have it up here, and the red dot's right in front of me. I'm standing upright, and I don't worry about that. Now, there is a plus and a minus to that, and it really is more of a personal thing. So what you do is you lose the cheek weld, and it becomes more of a chin weld on the rifle. Some people don't like that. Some people don't care. Now, if you really, really don't like it, well, that's going to be a problem, because you're not going to be able to get a good cheek weld. It's going to be more of a chin, and it's going to sit like this. Now, with me, I don't really care. It doesn't really do anything. I got my rifle nice and tight in there, and it's not really bothering me at all. Definitely doesn't affect functionality. So this is just something to keep in mind. The plus, however, now I've heard some people say you get better situational awareness. I don't agree with that completely. Maybe a little bit. I think it depends. But here's the thing. If I'm standing with my rifle out here like this, I can still see all around. If I tuck in, I can still see all around. There really isn't much of a difference. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, what it does do though, is if I'm here and I need to bring my rifle up to take a shot, I don't need to move anything else. I don't have to get in there and tuck in. So it makes that movement a lot faster. And in CQB, every split second obviously makes a difference. In general, any close distance stuff makes a difference on timing. And that does make it a lot more consistent and easier to just bring the rifle up and you're good to go, versus coming in and tucking into the rifle when your red dot's a lot lower. So it's a little bit of a plus and a minus regarding that. After trying this more and more, I really like this setup. I've got it. I'm trying it out on an AR as well. We'll see how that works. I really like it. I really like the higher mounts on ARs as well. So there is that. Now, another plus. One thing the X95 lacks is what? Rail space. Well, this takes your laser. So if you're trying to get a laser on here, it takes your laser right above, and it gives you a little bit of rail space to put your button, which I have right over there for the laser. And it just gives you a little bit more real estate for whatever else you want to do with it. If you've got LPVO, it doesn't really matter for this situation, but you can see I've got my magnifier, got my red dot, and I can fit a laser. I can tell you I've had this setup before where I had the laser mounted, everything mounted on the rail, and I had almost no space at all. I could barely fit the activation buttons for the laser where I wanted. It wasn't ideal where it was, let's put it that way. I was able to fit it, barely, but it wasn't sitting in the ideal spot. And again, that's because of rail space. So there is that. Now, the other negative, and I think that applies to even the Unity mount, is that your backup sights, which you have here, and I can, if I remove this, then it's pretty easy because this will still be accessible. So I have this guy, and I've got my regular sights, my irons, which are fine. They work great. Well, I can't use these anymore because it's completely being blocked by this entire setup. So that just does not work. Now, having so much or so little real estate as it is, it's something you want to think about, because if you wanted to put extra iron sights on here, maybe 45 degrees or whatever, you're already running out of space. Now, if you're not running a laser, which I think the majority of people aren't running these lasers, you can definitely run 45 degrees, but it means it's another thing you have to buy. So you're going to have your Unity mount or LPVO, whatever it is, and then you can have the 45 degrees offset. So basically you'd be here, and then you can turn it sideways for the 45 degrees. Backups. Why do I not care about the backup irons on this? Is because I've already got a redundant backup for my red dot or holographic, whatever you want to call it, which is my laser. Okay, this is a Viz and IR laser, so this is my backup to this, and obviously they both back up each other. As long as you have two sets of aiming devices, it's usually okay. Some people go with three. I think it's a bit excessive, and it becomes a lot more difficult on the X95 with the limited real estate. So let's keep that in mind. The one other thing which I don't think is relevant to majority of people, but if you have nods, it's not even close. I was going to say it's night and day. So and with nods, that's quite an interesting saying. But basically, the point of this is when you're running a PVS 14 or whatever on your helmet, it's way easier to look through this and use it that way on your night vision mode with your red dot, because it's set so much higher and you have that space to look through. So that is it is kind of an advantage, but I want to say majority of people are not going to run PVS 14s in that. So it's very specific advantage, and I didn't want to start with that one because there's a lot of other advantages that you could have to this setup. Whatever mount you have it on, whatever height you have it on, always take it to the range. Wherever you decide to zero it at as well, shoot it at closer distance. Go 3 yards, 5 yards, 3, 7, 10, 15, 25, and so on, so you know where your rounds are going to land. Obviously, that's going to change if you change your ammo. So if I'm running 55 grain and I go to 77 grain or whatever, that's going to change. So your drop and all of that is definitely going to have an effect by not just your offset, but also your zero, as well as what round I'm shooting. So keep that in mind. Obviously, whether I'm running it suppressed or not as well. Now, that's another thing. I usually run this X95 with a dead air silencer on it. The reason I wasn't running it is because I'm actually switching it up. I need to take this muzzle device off and put another one on, and I'm going to be running the Huxworks flow through can on this one, and then I'll redo the whole thing to see what kind of effect that has. And I can tell you with 100% certainty, because I've seen this, that your bullet drop is very different with a can versus with no can. So keep that in mind as well. You want to set it up the way you're going to be shooting it, and you want to at least know if you're going to shoot it in two different ways, two different ammos, whatever it is, you want to know what the different results are going to be. We'll end it on that one here. If you got any questions, let us know. We're on Instagram, YouTube, depending on where you're watching. And obviously we've got our website with a whole bunch. We've got one product on pre-order at the moment. We're gonna have a bunch of other products coming soon. Obviously it depends when you're watching this video, but keep track for that. We've got a lot of exciting things happening. So stay tuned.